Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the AM Report for HAPS News, the network of now. I'm Alex Mahajer, and it is Tuesday, January 12th. And we got a start, but we're here, and it's good to see you all this morning. On this morning's show, Trump has made his first comments since the violent insurrection at the U.S. Capitol last week. We're going to hear about what he said, and we're going to talk about the growing developments, the latest developments on the calls for impeachment and removal of the president in the House, and these new plots that we're learning about of threats against Democratic lawmakers. We're going to cover all of this and more this morning on the AM Report. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the program. I'm Alex Mahajer. If you're watching on the HAPS app, website, or platform, click the award button. Let us know you're enjoying it. Or if you're watching on Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, leave us a comment. We'll bat around with you live on air. We have a lot of people joining this morning. Thank you for subscribing, Chris Wygand, and good morning to you as well. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to you, Roxanne Keller. Thank you for joining. And Roxanne says he's a puke, and I'm assuming you're talking about the Cheeto in chief, Donald Trump. Good morning, Pablo de la Hoya in Los Angeles, and good morning, Reddit. It's good to see you all this morning. Tim asks, oh no, did I miss everything? No, Tim. We had an audio delay, and so we're trying the broadcast again. And I think we fixed our technical difficulties, so we're here. And it's good to see you all. We have a lot of headlines to cover this morning, and let's get right into it. First and foremost, the pressure is building. House Democrats are passing a resolution today pressuring Mike Pence. The resolution is calling on him let's see, we got an issue here, but let's see. It's calling on Mike Pence to convene and mobilize the cabinet to activate the 25th Amendment to declare the president incapable of executing the duties of his office and to immediately exercise his powers as acting president. So that's going to happen today. That resolution will pass by House Democrats. And then if that doesn't happen, if the 25th Amendment is not invoked, then which will not happen, is what we are hearing is the vice president is not inclined to do that. And then the House will impeach. The House will move to impeach Donald Trump in tomorrow. That's what we're learning. The news is tomorrow. Trump will become only the second president, the first president to be impeached twice, rather, and that will be tomorrow. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is exploring a way to force the Senate back into session before January 20th so that the Senate can then take this up. Now, what is really more important here than removing him from office for Democrats is to make sure that he can no longer run for elected office again. And that's going to be their purview, which only requires a simple majority. Only 51 votes are required for that. Democrats face chilling new threats. The House Democrats have received word that there are 3 separate plots being planned against them. Democrats have been briefed about these dangerous attacks planned ahead of Inauguration Day, with one of these plots to encircle the U.S. Capitol and assassinate Democrats and some Republicans. So taking that very seriously. And you can't pardon this. You can't pardon state and local municipality charges. You can only pardon federal crimes. So Washington, D.C. Attorney General Karl Racine is examining whether to charge Donald Trump Jr., Rudy Giuliani, Representative Mo Brooks with inciting the violent insurrection of the U.S. Capitol building. And the New York State Bar is considering disbarring Rudy Giuliani. I also know there's a petition floating around Florida to disbar Representative Matt Gaetz from the Florida Bar, which has been circulating for some time. The acting Department of Homeland Security Secretary, Chad Wolf, has resigned. He's a Trump loyalist who's been serving in that position illegally because he's never received a confirmation vote. The resignation has raised more inauguration security concerns because the Department of Homeland Security oversees Secret Service And Chad Wolf, not sad to see him go. He has been behind Trump's really hardline border policies, and he is just seeking to avoid having to invoke the 25th. The FBI is preparing for more armed protests. The Bureau is warning of demonstrations in all 50 states. So all 50 state capitals are bracing themselves, and Washington, D.C. bracing themselves for violence in the days leading up to President-elect Biden's inauguration from 16th of January through at least 20th of January, in the U.S. Capitol from the 17th of January through the 20th of January, according to an internal FBI memo that has been circulating. So very concerned about that. Trump making his first comments, but before that, House Democrats are seeking to punish the Republicans in the House, all 139 House Republicans, for their role in objecting to the outcome of a free and fair election. The Constitution gives the Congress clear authority to discipline and even expel members. So Representative Cori Bush has introduced a resolution in the House, has 47 co-sponsors, directing the Ethics Committee to commence a disciplinary review of all 139 Republicans who voted to overturn the election results to see whether they should be expelled, which is an unprecedented move, but a move that would be within the constitutional authority of the House. Now, finally, Trump is making his first comments since the Capitol siege just moments ago. Shocker, shirking all responsibility. With his social media accounts banned in his final days in office, Trump has disgraced himself by failing to take any responsibility for his incitement to violence last week, and blaming Democrats for taking the country down a dark path. So, Trump, I'll note, these comments that just happened just moments ago happened en route to Alamo, Texas, where he's visiting portions of the border wall that he is hoping will be his legacy as president. The cap at his hat of his presidency is his incomplete, unfinished border wall, the portions of the border wall that he did get finished, and visiting Alamo, Texas. And the Associated Press is saying that this is a pointed move by the president. The Associated Press writing Trump's decision to travel to Alamo, named after the San Antonio mission, where a small group of Texans fighting for independence against the Mexican government were defeated after a 13-day siege, served as a symbol of his defiance as he faces the most volatile end of any presidency in modern history. And he will tomorrow. He'll be the first president in American history to be impeached twice. So what do you guys think about all of this? The developments are really ongoing, happening every morning. Simon says, insane. And it is insane. Good morning to you, Alex, says Noel. He says he's an immigrant from the Philippines. He works in Singapore since 2007, moved to Florida. I haven't updated my location detail on Facebook account. Somebody replied on my comment yesterday. Okay, sorry. Very good. What's up, my old neighbor? Hope all is well, man. I don't know which neighbor you are, but good to see you. And 1 week. Why is he headed to the border, says Simon says. Again, he's headed to the border to make a statement to his followers. So while he fails to take responsibility publicly for the violent insurrection that happened at the Capitol, which he incited, I mean, the video is very clear. He's been drumming up fake allegations of voter fraud and lying to his diehards, and they showed up, and he was telling them to go fight for him. And the election was stolen, which is a lie. It was a free and fair election. It was a democratically held election, and his opponent won by many, many more votes. And he's seeking to overturn that. And so he visited Alamo, Texas, because it represents a siege in which Texans fought for their democracy. And although it's not very subtle, he also wants to clear up his legacy. He doesn't want his legacy to be the insurrection that happened at the Capitol last week. But there's no doubt that is all it will be. It all looks like a circus act to me, says Sabrina. Indeed. So are we red or blue here, says They Call Me Money. I don't know. Are you red or blue? It's up to you, really. We all have our preferences, but we report on the facts. Too late, says Tim. Yeah, it may be too late. A wall as your legacy, says Simon. Donald Trump's legacy will definitely be that in the final days of his presidency, he lied and incited a mob to disrupt a free and fair election. And the international headlines about this, if you've checked them out, are really shocking. But it was his legacy was stretching democracy to its final, to its breaking point, really. And how we operate in the next 10 days, 9 days, will determine whether or not that democracy survives. But there must be justice. There must be accountability for those who contributed to peddling lies in order to circumvent democracy and in order to circumvent a free and fair election. So we've got to see how the House will act, but we also know that there are some Republicans who want justice for this. Arnold Schwarzenegger released a video yesterday. He's considered a leading Republican voice. He's a former governor of California, taking into account the Republicans who are complicit in this ongoing assault on democracy and calling on them to cut it out. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, who, by the way, objected to the election results, is starting to get a little antsy. Now he's telling his House Republican caucus to pull back on the lies about Antifa, to pull back on the lies about the left contributing to the riots. He's seeking to back down a little bit, but at the end of the day, he won't do the right thing. Kevin McCarthy, a terrible, terrible representative right here in California. But let's hear a little bit from Trump this morning. This is Trump on his way to the Alamo. This went on all the news networks, but it wasn't streamed live. The news networks would not stream this live. They needed to make sure that he wouldn't say anything that was inciting violence, which I think is brilliant. And once they made sure that nothing was said that might incite another insurrection, the network streamed this. This is just maybe 30 minutes ago. Here's Donald Trump this morning traveling to the Alamo and making his first comments since the siege on the Capitol last week.
What is your role in what happened at the Capitol? What is your personal responsibility?
So if you read my speech, and many people have done it, and I've seen it both in the papers and in the media, on television, it's been analyzed, and people thought that what I said was totally appropriate. And if you look at what other people have said, politicians at a high level, about the riots during the summer, the horrible riots in Portland and Seattle and various other places.
We are coming out of this now because the president has started to, as he occasionally does, often does, veer away from the truth. His video that he taped on Wednesday after the riots were happening at the Capitol was not viewed widely as totally appropriate. In fact,
and it wasn't. It was, no one viewed his participation in this as being totally appropriate. It is almost universally accepted that Donald Trump incited an insurrection, incited a violent mob, and not only in his comments before the actual attack, but in the 2 months of lies that he's been propagating every single day, drumming people up, and his supporters have no reason to disbelieve him. That is the problem. This goes right to the top. If I followed somebody who I truly believed in, and his supporters do truly believe in him, and that person told me this election was stolen, and I have no reason to disbelieve this person who I respect and admire and look up to and whose words I listen to and hinge on, then I am going to be very troubled about the state of my democracy because I'm going to believe what he's telling me. I have no reason to disbelieve Trump. Now, whether or not that makes sense, given how flagrant of a liar Donald Trump is and has been, and why his supporters can't see his dishonesty, and why we've gotten to a place where people can no longer discern fact from fiction, regardless of the person speaking it, is another entirely other issue that we're going to need to download as a country and fix and heal as a country. The era of misinformation has led to this moment, has led to the insurrection against an American democracy, because those insurrectionists believed that they were standing up for democracy. And it's not going to be for many years before the people who participated in this, it's like doing the unbrainwashing, deprogramming of a brainwashed cult, for them to see that what they actually did was an act of terror against the world's leading democracy. That headlines across the world showed pictures of the Capitol up in smoke with insurrectionists swarming it, the world's leading democracy, to intervene in a free and fair election where the president's opponent won by 7 million votes, 81 million votes, more votes than any in American history. They wanted to overturn that because the president is a despot and a liar and a dictator that they believed. And why they have come to believe him is also a problem. And the Republican enablers in Congress that enabled this rhetoric is also the problem. And our democracy is at risk unless all of them face consequences. Every House Republican who voted to object to the outcome of a free and fair election must be expelled or censured. Senators Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, who are smart people, who know that the election was free and fair, who know very well that Joe Biden won, but sought to service their own power and ambition by seeking to appeal to the president's hardline followers and peddled the president's fictions, that peddled his dishonesty about the election and thought, what's the worst that could happen? Well, this is the worst that could happen. And for your participation, Cruz and Hawley, your colleagues should expel you from the U.S. Senate. You should leave in disgrace. This is the world's leading democracy. And the president of the United States should be impeached in the House. And I hope that Senate Republicans, they vote to remove him if they're able to get this on the floor. But if they don't, if they can't get this on the floor before Joe Biden's inauguration in the Senate, then I'm hoping that the 51 votes come in to make sure that Donald Trump is barred from ever running for elected office ever again, and that he does not enjoy the luxuries and perks of a former president. This is a big deal, what's happened. It is a big deal, and every day that passes without justice being served is a day where our American democracy is in peril, and the entire eyes of the entire world are watching. And I'll note, Russian President Vladimir Putin couldn't be more pleased. So this has been the AM Report for Haps News, the network of Now. I'm Alex Mahajer. We are live every weekday morning at 7:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Eastern, with all of your quick political news and headlines to get your day started right. If you like this journalism, if you like this content, please consider subscribing to it. You can do that at haps.tv/@Alex, or you can also become a recurring monthly sponsor or buy me a cup of coffee. You can do that at haps.tv/@Alex. We'll be back tomorrow morning with all the latest developments. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Tim David says we love you. Thank you, Tim. Thanks for joining. And their chicken, afraid of their deplorable base, says August West. And there it is. So thanks so much for joining. We'll see you all tomorrow morning. This has been the AM Report.